Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you. So a happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's webinar that we're calling Going Remote Overnight. My name is Stu Kippelman, and I'm the CIO here at Parsons. It's a pleasure to have you join us today. And I'm really glad you're able to find a few minutes in your day to help and be part of this. A very quick bit of housekeeping. You're all familiar with this format of video conference. We are using Teams Live today. And on the screen is a little chat icon, show Q&A, that you can click on, and you can see the questions that everybody is asking. We would love you to ask questions, so please go ahead and use that chat icon. We will try to answer as many as we can as we go. I'll queue up some at the end for our Q&A, and then anything we don't answer, we would be happy to follow up with you and answer the questions. So how did all this happen, right? So as we speak with customers, peers, partners, and others, everyone, of course, begins to share their stories and challenges of successes and not so successes with transitioning to working at home. Many have been asking us for more information and details about how we've done it. We've been fairly successful in doing this. So we decided to begin sharing with this webinar. But we're also launching a digital transformation service, which of course includes capabilities for telework as well. We have some amazing capability within Parsons on the technology, on the awesome capabilities that we have across the company. And we decided that we want to try to deliver some of this to our customers. So adding IT digital transformation is really a natural extension of what we're already doing as a company. So this would include from advisory to architecture, implementation, and even operations. These are things that we could deliver for you. But I'll give you more on that later in the presentation. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce some truly exceptional people who are going to take you through different phases of our transition to telework, to working at home, telework. It's called many different things. And by extension of that, our transformation to a digital environment, a digital transformation, is really an extension of telework. So joining me are, let me introduce you to a few people who I'm going to just introduce you to, but as they speak, they will give you a little more detail about who they are. So we have Mike Sesta. Mike is our Chief Technology Officer in IT, who will take you through our technology journey. Karen Wright's our VP of Business Relationship. She will take you through how we changed our IT organization around on a dime. We have Melissa Klutzker, who's our Vice President of Internal Communications, who will discuss the really crucial part about keeping employees engaged and making sure that they were all safe and comfortable and all the other aspects of employees. And then last but not least, we have Tim Potier, who is our Chief Information Security Officer. And Tim also runs the response management team that we put together to address this. So Tim will bring that all together and go through things for you. Our plan is to spend about 40 minutes, take you through all of this, and then do some Q&A. Let me start with a little background. I think at this point, we all know how this story went. COVID happened, everybody flipped out, and then we all went home. So everyone on this call, no doubt, has confronted the same situation, and it all happened really suddenly. There wasn't project plans. There wasn't time to come up with plan A, B, and C. There wasn't plans for long drawn-out communications and rollout plans. It had to be done overnight. We quickly realized that it was not going to be something that's as simple as, we started our thinking like it was an outage. Right? If you think about an outage, you have an issue, you come up with the resolution, you test the resolution, you implement, and then all the other follow-ups and things that kind of create an SDLC or a more formal project plan. We realized quickly that that is simply not going to happen. And this is not an outage. It affected every part of the company, so we had to react. We assembled a cross-functional team that we called the response management team, which included our leadership, communications, IT, security. It included all the right people to figure out how to put those plans in place. And later on, Tim will give you a sense of what that was. We were focused on employee safety first, above all else. There was nothing more important than our employees and making sure they were safe. After that, of course, it's making sure our customers are getting what they need from us. We put some really unique and quick actions in place to address that. We also put in place robust communications to employees, Melissa will explain all that. But last year we put in place Facebook Workplace, and it has been really a tremendous success. It eliminated all the intranet sites and all the other ways that people would communicate. The adoption is incredible. Just about the entire company is on that platform, and it provided us the opportunity, and I mention all this because it provided us the opportunity to really very, very quickly be able to communicate and have two-way interaction and chat and get immediate feedback. So we could talk more about that as well. Let me give you a few thoughts of mine. So this is not about working at home. I think that ended. Initially, it was about working at home because that was the easiest way to think about this. But in reality, it's now about working from anywhere, at any time, on any device. So I think when you think about that change, and it's only a simple change of wording, but when you think about that change, it really does change the way that you think about it, because working at home implies either people are going to stay there or people are going to come back to an office. When you think about working from anywhere, it really does change the social implications of all this, because people can move around. We're saying we don't care where people are is what it means, versus I want you to be in your house. So I can't emphasize that enough. And that did change the way that we thought about things. So it's a bigger scope, and by saying people could work anywhere provides you with much more flexibility in how you design, develop, and manage these environments. So on a technology front, last year we took a journey to implement a really comprehensive digital transformation, and it's gone really well. We're in the middle of it. By no means can I say we're done, but this included a redesign of business processes, systems, data centers, cloud, among many other things. So it really was the catalyst that allowed us to quickly turn on a dime and provide work from anywhere, because our digital transformation was really was laying the foundation for that. Our IT strategy is perfectly aligned to all this. Our strategy is to enable revenue generation for the company, which means support everyone who is making money for the company. And then user productivity. So user productivity plays in here because I've been saying now, initially it was about remote work, which then means it's about connectivity. And I've been saying, no, it's no longer about connectivity, it's about productivity. So how do we make sure employees are not just as productive working anywhere, but more productive? That is the goal. Because if we just are enabling remote access, I think we're in a lot of trouble long term. We've had a really good outcome, a large cultural shift. For the most part, people report they're very productive, and we were able to turn on a dime to do that. So in order to do it, right? Let me wrap up in my part here. In order to do this, we quickly realized that we were not going to have a slow, methodical project. It was a big lift, right? Business process, from workflow approvals, communications, employee engagement, safety, facilities, technology, everything had to change. We had good remote capability before, but nothing close to the scale. And overnight, we went from hundreds of people to thousands of people. And it took a heavy lift to do it, but I'm really proud of the team that was able to pull that off. So with that said, I'm going to let the experts take you through the rest of this. But before I do, a few quick recommendations. Number one is understand your culture and what is remotely possible in your company. Be honest, don't sugarcoat it, and embrace the change. Everyone has to be on the same page, from the CEO to, if you think about it, a new hire who is interviewing and joining a company that they've never met and they've never been to an office. I could not imagine myself doing that, and I give kudos to everyone on the human resource side of this, as well as the employee side of this, who has been dealing with that. But we even had to change how we deliver technology, how we provide support. So it's really been a meaningful change, but you need to make sure everybody's on the same page. You have to focus on focusing on remote work leads to failure, in my opinion. It has to be productive work, not just that you're not in an office. So don't think remote access is the key. Of course, it always gets back to people, process, and then after that, technology. This takes experimenting. This is not something that you do a project plan for, as I said, and roll it out and look at the dates and milestones. You have to experiment, listen, fix, and then try again. And that's what I mean by everybody on the same page. The CEO and the leadership team down to new employees have to understand this is the world we're in, of this cyclic approach to delivering capability. And some of these cyclic cycles were days. So not, it's that quick. Last thing is embrace the change, and everyone is unique in this scenario. So I have a four-stage recipe, right? The first is you've hired great people, trust them, and don't micromanage them. Look, I don't know how you would micromanage someone with everybody working remote. Not everyone will adapt to this world, and you have to make sure you manage that, but you need to give people the benefit of the doubt. The second is embrace technology, as we're doing here with a live webinar. Do it internally, town halls, webinars, training sessions. Don't stop your plans because of this. Do it virtual. It works really well. Turn on the camera, right? Hello. I have, you can see my bookshelf back here and a guitar and my another desk. It's the world we live in, and make sure the camera's on so people can see that. And then in response to that, my rule is if we hear the dog, we see the dog. So don't try to hide that you're at home and that your daughters or sons over there making noise. Let them come, let them say hi. I think it's part of this social experiment that we're in. And then this is not the end. Get ready for the next wave. It's gonna happen again. None of us can predict how, but we could be back here again in 3 months, or things could be great. So either way, don't think of this as the end. Think of this as the beginning. Okay, with that said, let me transition to Mike Justa. Mike is our Chief Technology Officer, as I said. Mike, could you walk us through a bit of the data center transformation, priorities, projects, how that all changed, how we leverage that for telework, and getting employees kind of ready overnight? I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. And before I get into that, just a little bit about Mike Justa individually here. So I've been with Parsons for the last 10 years, the last 3 of which have been in the CTO role. And prior to that, I worked at Perot Systems, helping customers with their IT problems. And going way back, I served in the United States Marine Corps in the infantry. So that's just a little bit about me. I've been part of the digital transformation process that Stu mentioned here since I've been in the CTO role, and hopefully I can share something with you all today that resonates. As Stu mentioned, right, so we are in the midst of a digital transformation program, and it's built on a cloud-first strategy. But I want to get a little bit more foundational before we get into that, right? As part of this strategy, we've really led with the need for a strong foundation that was focused on the network, and the network is one of those things that sometimes is lost. But today, we have a very strong and mature set of capabilities based upon software-defined networking principles. and thankfully a very robust global internet ingress egress architecture. And so why am I starting the presentation this way? Well, this gave us the flexibility we needed to support our workforce, right? And basically intelligently route those employees to the most appropriate area of the network for them to be productive. This is definitely one of those areas that if it isn't architected correctly, or you do not have proper capacity, it is a major constraint. And thankfully for us, we had put those issues behind us prior to COVID. So we were able to really maneuver on a foundation of stability. Like many of you, right, we all have business continuity plans. And we try to, go through iterations of those plans and improve them over time. One of the things that I think we did very well is when the intelligence was coming in from in the February timeframe from the rest of the world about what was happening, we quickly realized that our business continuity plan had gaps. And one of those gaps was we didn't have a scenario that required every employee to work from home and have to gain access to some sort of remote access vehicle to get back into the network and remain productive. So as soon as we realized that, we went into our playbook and we took out kind of some very basic decisions. We made some very basic decisions. One is we put a small team together that had one mission, and that team's mission was to deliver MVP product in the context of an agile minimum viable product that would support the company in the early March timeframe. And one thing I just want to emphasize, it's amazing what people do when you give them a clear mission with a clear responsibility that they all understand. You remove the barriers from them. They're able to work very quickly to get work done. So that team, in a matter of about 30 days, was able to take us from a capacity constrained remote access environment to one that our executive leadership team could count on and work into their communications so that we could be aggressive in that second week of March and direct our employees to work from home. I would also mention that I think we've been, as many of you are, right, we're all delivering capabilities in an agile way. And, it's not until you have a situation like this, or it's been our experience here, that our business partners, I think, now understand very critically what it means to iterate, right? Provide a minimum viable set of capabilities, right, as a first release, and then iterate over time. So while we were able to support our company in the March timeframe, we're still adding features and capabilities to that remote access solution. And I think that's resonated well in all of our communications, as well as the company's understanding that it's okay not to have everything in that first release. As Stu mentioned, right, our digital transformation program is built on the foundation of moving most of our company's workloads into the cloud, and that includes a data center consolidation. So this work that we've already embarked on means that most of our critical apps are already cloud enabled. But more importantly than that, we have a level of expertise in-house that permits us to take advantage of those services. So one example I'd like to point out to this group, right? Parsons has a pretty significant engineering workload, right? For those that are in this industry and understand how CAD applications operate, right? The data has mass, it's very latency sensitive, and it doesn't do well in a distributed environment, especially an environment that isn't optimized, right, to account for those shortfalls. So one of the things we're able to do because of our cloud architecture is we literally spun up thousands of VDI instances within our AWS and on-premise data centers to support those engineering users. Now realize those engineering users are used to having high-powered kind of desktop systems with multi-monitor support. And overnight, they lost that capability because we had to shut down the offices. The fact that we could spin up these thousands of VDI instances while optimizing the data that was needed to localize it was something we would not have been able to do if our engineering activities and around our cloud architecture and our understanding of how to implement weren't honed prior to COVID. So for those that are in this space, we are still working through some of those challenges in the engineering space, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end here with some of our future state programs that we have in process. So now that we're kind of through the blip, if you will, of reacting to the situation, we now have several programs within IT that we've fast-tracked for the remainder of the year. And these programs weren't on our radar deeply, and they become high priorities for us because of the situation we're in. So first, as Stu mentioned, we have a data center program. It's been accelerated, and this year we will migrate over 80% of our applications into the cloud, most of which are going to be in the AWS cloud, but not all. While doing this, we're really building out a set of self-service development environments to make our product teams more efficient and productive. These environments basically have the guardrails in place for those teams to work quickly from wherever they're at in the world, but we also have architected the controls in place that we need for those workloads to remain secure and compliant. It's been a very interesting process getting all of these folks together and understanding and normalizing that need across different market lines that have their different product requirements. And I'm happy to say that we'll be in production with our first MVP of that in the June timeframe. We've also fast-tracked, so we're an Office 365 user, and in the US, we've been using that for a while. As a result of COVID, we've also fast-tracked the rollout of the 365 solution within our Middle East region. We're implementing that in a multi-geo model, right, so that we can keep our data in region, and we'll have completed about 3,000 employees rollout in the month of June as well. And again, it's amazing what you can accomplish when you give people a specific mission and ask them to work quickly to get that done. And then kind of lastly here, while this is going on, like many of you, we're in our customers, the federal government in many instances. And we're continuing to work with our federal government customers and understand, right, what this new scenario means to us from a compliance perspective. And as a result of that, we're continuing to tweak the tools and capabilities that our employees are authorized to use for various qualifications of data. And again, that's a work in process, but I would say now that everything that we're doing definitely has that lens so that we don't build something that's unusable by a large percentage of our company. So that's kind of what we've done and what we're doing in the very near term here. Now, from a future state perspective, IT is part of a blended task force that's forming the company's post-COVID operating strategy. And the good news there is it's blended, and we're working with our business partners really on 5 different dimensions, which I'll go through here quickly. So the first is employee support. So we're fortunate that we're still hiring, between 50 to 150 people a week. And that required us to change our PC provisioning and support models. We've virtualized our service desk. We've also augmented our service desk hours, and we were fortunate that we can augment the team through a set of services from a company called Workforce Opportunity Services, who has got a great mission. If you go look them up, we can send this out after the call. They're helping veterans find work in the technology space, and they're dedicated, they're motivated, they care about what they're doing, and they've been a great resource for us to tap into. And they've helped us augment that environment. Now, while we've been doing that traditionally, we've also been honing our self-service capabilities, and self-service is a theme I think you've heard throughout the morning here. We have this solution that we call Concierge. It's based upon a robust set of knowledge, and we continue to hone and refine that knowledge base and actually use it in our communications plan. So anytime we send comms out to our employees, we reference back to the how-to, if you will, that's listed in Concierge. Now, we've taken that a step further, and we're looking now at how do we enable that content to be exposed via chatbot. So we have our first chatbot, which is called Max, and he's servicing requests for our employees. We're expecting to continue to iterate and provide kind of bot-enabled help functions so that our employees really get what they need, and that is the answer to their question as quickly as possible without kind of human intervention if that's possible. Second, on the engineering front, we've realized that our what was a distributed engineering support model is no longer going to be viable in this new world. So we actually have a blended task force of, as you can imagine, IT, engineering, and leaders that are looking at what it means to us to refine our engineering processes around our CAD systems, and how we need to take that all the way back to the sales process to make sure that we're orchestrating engineering workflows that are going to be productive, that have the data located in the right geographies for employees to be productive, and for those employees to have the right tools, whether they're traditional tools or cloud tools. And we're happy that that group's going to be reporting to our executives late in the month of June as well on findings and recommendations. Next is collaboration. And we've talked about productivity, which is kind of table stakes collaboration on this call. What we're really envisioning here, right, we're, like many of you, we have teams that have to collaborate at a detailed level, that have to do breakout sessions, that historically have done that face-to-face and on-premise. We're realizing that we need to augment the traditional collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams or WebEx with technology that really facilitates deep team collaboration and lets you perform a function like an engineering design review virtually. And one of the areas we're looking at is, since we're still in a hybrid model, we're really looking at technology that's going to bridge the gap between the physical conference room space and extend that out into the virtual environment. We're at the very front end of that analysis, but we expect, our company to be augmenting our tool sets in the near term. Next here is office infrastructure. So like many of you, right, we're trying to comply with the social distancing mandates, and not all of our offices are set up to do that. So we're working with our facilities departments to figure out how to establish kind of a hoteling space model so that employees can get their work done, be productive, but do so with a 6-foot buffer. Also in our new environments, or new offices that we will be moving into, we'll have to factor that into the architecture plan as well. That definitely, I think, means more wireless than an engineering company like us was traditionally used to, but we're certainly factoring that into our plans. And then lastly here, I'd just like to talk about what we're calling in IT the command center. Stu mentioned that we have a rapid response kind of crisis team that's formed, and that team is daily, like I'm sure many of your teams are, looking at the risk and the safety, health, and comfort of our employees. So in IT, we're working to establish a unified and authoritative application suite of mashed up data sources to help support this crisis management decision-making process, support the contact tracing that we're endeavoring to enable, and ultimately support our employee safety mandates to make sure that we can continue to work productively, and more importantly, safely as we do so. So Stu, that's a little bit about what we've done in the technology space, and it's been a lot of fun, as you know, and we still have some challenges to deal with, but I think that's a great overview of what Parsons has done and what we will continue to do to support our company through this situation. So I'll turn it back to you now.
Thank you so much, Mike. That's a great overview. And I, as well as the rest of the company, are so proud of the work that we have done. It's really quite astonishing how quickly we were able to pull this off, and at a really, really high level of quality. So thank you. Now let's transition over to Karen Wright. Karen is our Vice President of Business Relationship. And Karen, I'd love if you can fill everyone in on how not just IT, but how the business shifted their needs, and driven by, of course, customer needs. And it would be interesting to hear from you how that, as well as our priorities and things we had to, how we had to adapt to the new world. I mean, quite possibly the ultimate Agile and DevOps project here. So Karen, take it away.
Thank you, Stu. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Wright, and I have been with Parsons for over 20 years in numerous leadership roles. And as Stu mentioned, I now lead our Business Relationship Management office. As a business relationship manager, our team represents our IT organization to our business partners and our business partners to our IT organization. We do this to ensure our IT services and investments converge with business capabilities to drive organizational value. As we have all experienced, COVID quickly required us to adapt our IT services to a work from anywhere strategy, so that as a company, we could be continued positioned to be able to deliver value to our customers. The three main areas that I'll talk about today are essential for companies, but they're even more critical in an agile environment. Those are a partnership model between IT and our business partners, portfolio management, and agile practices and concepts. All of these were interwoven in all the initiatives that Mike previously talked about and was able to help Parsons be successful. The first area of focus is our partnership model. An effective partnership model leverages business relationship management to converge IT and business. The model establishes points of contact between the teams, it establishes expectations and shared goals. Within the IT organization itself, it establishes what each team is responsible for and how the teams will work together. As part of our COVID response, we were able to exploit this existing partner model so that we could reevaluate common goals, quickly service new demand, and review the business partner's existing demand pipeline. We quickly saw, as Stu mentioned, demand shifted. Areas of concerns, and a few examples of those were, how do we know and how do we ensure employees were able to work remotely? How do we handle employees that had desktops that now needed to work from home? How do we conduct large group meetings when they used to be done in person and you used to have to use a whiteboard? And how do we onboard and equip new employees we may never have met in person? These are a few examples, but as you can see, primarily demand was focused on employee productivity, our continued ability to meet our contract deliverables, and how do I escalate a concern or a question. The partnership model means that IT and business partners have shared ownership in the success of these outcomes. There is no more time for we, they between IT and the business. We have to operate, and we continue to operate as one team. We're one Parsons. Through our partnership model, as I mentioned, we reevaluated the demand pipeline and shared goals, which also meant we had to incorporate this new demand into our IT portfolio. We needed to ensure that we were focused on the right things for our company and for our customers, given the changing environment. And we in IT had to do our part to ensure that we identified impacts and risks to the business in regards to our customer success. And that leads me to our second area of focus, which is portfolio management. Portfolio management includes demand management, in-flight projects, and product team release planning. A robust portfolio management practice gives visibility and transparency into all of these areas. With ours, we are able to examine our current portfolio, and demand, in-flight project, and sprint releases were reevaluated, and initiatives and enhancements needed to support our COVID response were absolutely prioritized to the tops. And you heard Mike provide several examples of these that we received higher priority. The status of demand and projects and releases were communicated back to our business partners, and roadblocks were escalated and resolved. Resolving operational issues and escalation items were a shared mission throughout the IT organization. We're able to prioritize and move quickly using Agile practices. And that brings me to my last area of focus, which is leveraging Agile practices. We leveraged an Agile approach with daily stand-ups between IT department leads and key subject matter experts. This forum was used to provide technical updates on key initiatives, review progress on escalated business issues and concerns, discuss impacts to our customers, and provide progress updates. This enabled us to rapidly update our customers and our business partners, and also to communicate priorities throughout the IT organizations. And as Stu and Mike had mentioned, for issues that we could not resolve on daily stand-up calls, we established SWAT teams. These teams develop mitigation plans and approaches to address specific issues. To help develop mitigation plans faster, we also leveraged a library of personas. These enabled us to quickly evaluate the feasibility of solutions and to ensure our customers' interests were represented in our short-term and long-term decisions. Were we successful in our COVID response? I think so, and I do believe this was demonstrated by our customers asking for help with their own COVID responses. A few examples included network questions, AWS hosting questions, or advice on different collaboration tools. Parsons is and always will be customer focused, and when we had the opportunity to help our customers, we were happy to fast track that pop-up demand because we wanted to and we felt we were in a position where we could help. So in summary, the three areas where we focused on again were the partnership model, portfolio management, and Agile practices. We focused in these areas to be able to help Parsons in our COVID response, and we will continue to do that with our work from anywhere strategy. I appreciate the opportunity to share this with you today. And with that, Stu, I hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Karen. And again, the team did a great job in realigning and keeping IT on the right path. So we greatly appreciate that. Just a reminder, we have a Q&A going. So if you are interested in asking questions, we're answering them live, but we'll also take questions at the end. So now we transition to Melissa. Now we're going to talk about communications, employee engagement, and how we focused on the most important thing, which is our employee safety. Let me introduce you to Melissa Klutzker, our Vice President of Internal Communications. Melissa, can you walk us through all of these crazy challenges and fill us in?
Yeah, absolutely, Stu. As Stu mentioned, my name is Melissa Klutzker. I currently serve as the Director of Internal Communications at Parsons. I've been with Parsons almost 17 years in a variety of roles, both on our federal business and in our critical infrastructure business, primarily as part of our people team, and in the last 18 months as part of our enterprise marketing team in this internal communications role. As Stu noted, there are several challenges that the COVID pandemic presented organizations. For Parsons, we are a large, geographically dispersed workforce, and there's also, as you've heard earlier, a lot of diversity in the clients we serve. We knew right out of the gate that one size direction was not going to fit our needs in this particular situation. And so we created a set of guiding principles, primarily the safety and well-being of our employees and the communities where we work, ensuring our ability to continue our mission of delivering a better world in partnership with our customers, and putting in enterprise guidelines that could be implemented locally with local leadership driving decision making. As Stu noted at the very top of the hour, communications was part of the leadership and response team at the onset. We weren't just consulted as a distributor of communications and messages, and it was really invaluable to have a seat at that table. It created immediate buy-in and empowerment, both from our executives and mid-level leaders, that allowed our team to help them move fast as we were driving quick transition to virtual work and live adaptation as the situations evolved and changed. After we set enterprise guidelines around the areas of health and wellness protocols, as well as how we would work virtually, what our travel guidelines would be, what our stance would be on meetings, events, and visitors. We leveraged our managers as primary communication vehicles, asking them to cover content with their teams in either ongoing or new meetings that they created. As was mentioned previously, we have multiple tools to help keep employees and managers informed about company directives. And as everything shifted rapidly from day to day, we pulled on all of those resources. Standard channels like our intranet, creating a COVID-19 microsite specifically for this particular response, using email, using all hands calls led by our leadership, but most importantly, as Stu noted earlier, our internal communication collaboration platform, which is Workplace. We use this primarily to rapidly scale communications to our employees by doing daily updates that then could migrate to a few days a week for urgent communication and actions and those types of communications. Primarily, we used our main company news channel to share this. Our senior leaders also embraced the platform and were able to host regular briefings. Our CEO, as well as our president and chief operating officer, regularly use the platform in live videos or recorded videos or through text and images to update the enterprise at large, while allowing also our market and regional leaders to use the platform the same way to tailor messages to their particular projects and audiences. The other really cool thing that happened in the Workplace platform is additional group communities got created. It helped our employees stay connected on a personal level, as well as collaborate and innovate business ideas resulting from opportunities presented to us given the COVID-19 situation. The other thing that we were able to do was have feedback loops from our employees that were led by leadership. This not only measured the performance and effectiveness of our communication, but it also gave us immediate real-time feedback where we knew we had to pivot and adjust to address employee needs. again, in collaboration with departments like safety and security and IT, so that we could keep our whole response team on one page in terms of how we were serving the organization and things that we might need to adjust, enhance, improve, or start doing, stop doing, keep doing to just keep the enterprise moving and productive as we quickly pivoted to work remotely. Again, everything designed to keep employees safe, engaged, and delivering for our customers. Stu, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. And it really is an astonishing effort. When you ask Parsons employees, they all feel engaged. Of course, they have. Of course, nothing's perfect. You know, we have a lot more work to do, but we made some really, really great strides. So thank you so much. And now let me, last but definitely not least, let me transition over to Tim. Tim Potier is our Chief Information Security Officer, as well as leading the crisis response, the team. Tim, so can you go through all things related to the program and security?
Stu, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to the webinar, and certainly thank the audience for attending. I know you had to take a time out of your day to come and to listen to us. You know, I've been the beneficiary of several webinars during this process, and hopefully some of the information we leave here today we can reciprocate back to the community based on what we've learned. So I'm Tim Potier. I'm a Parsons Chief Security Officer. I've been with Parsons for about 8 years. So I run all things security, physical security, cyber, et cetera. But why I was invited to this webinar was not the security hat that I wear, it was really that I also manage the corporate response management team. So I want to provide, you know, again, in the interest of time, we want to leave some time for Q&A here at the end. So I'm going to go through this fairly rapidly, but I want to provide you some feedback in terms of how our response management was really benefited from the approach we took from an IT perspective at Parsons. So first, let me give you some ideas on response management, some of the lessons. One, I think you've heard this as a recurring theme in this meeting so far, is that cross-functional representation in response management is absolutely critical. So not just having your usual suspects, whether it's, you know, just facilities or just IT or just security or HR, you know, it includes everybody. Melissa talked about the importance of communication, and having that communications group, both marketing, internal and external, as part of our response management team really was critically important. So, you know, we want to go back and take a look at your response management groups and ensure that full cross-functional representation is there. The other thing is just to have the ability to rapidly spin up and tear down your response management team. It's we found an interesting parallel that, you know, the team is just like our IT infrastructure. We're able to rapidly spin up and tear down, you know, various components of our infrastructure to account for new challenges, to account for the unpredictable. And the response management team needed that agility as well. And without the technology overlay that our folks were able to provide, it would have been very, very difficult for us to manage through what I would say was an unprecedented time for us. You know, what we found is organizing our business operations and our processes around that flexibility and the ability to rapidly pivot was critical for us, and it certainly helped out as well. I noticed in the Q&A on the side there was a question about security, so I don't want to ignore that. You know, given that's my primary responsibility, so obviously I'm concerned about our employee safety and security, as well as the security of our data and our facilities. And one thing, you know, it's really important to note in a crisis situation, it's very easy for companies to forget about security or rapidly deconstruct what security protocols in place already. For example, if folks have to start working from home immediately, and there's not that capability there, you're going to try to stand up the most rapid solution you can so that people can connect and do their core business services. And unless you have a really strong culture of security, or you have security sort of baked into your process in your DevOps or your basic operational processes, it's very easy to forget about it, right? So, and it becomes burdensome, and it becomes really very expensive to deal with as a sort of afterthought. So the one message is, you know, you have to have a strong culture of security. You absolutely have to have security baked into your development process. And when you do that, it makes pivoting a lot easier. Examples of some of those technologies like VDI or persistent VPN solutions that we have in place really allowed us to take what Stu talked about in the beginning, a approach where we were, a hands-on, in-person company to now a very remote and work from anywhere company, and really not having to bolt that on later was critical for us. So bottom line, your response management absolutely has to be scalable, just like your infrastructure is, and communication is critical. Stu, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate it. And again, we could not have been there without you. So kudos to you and being able to keep us safe and always maintain that very high level of security no matter what happens. So that brings us to the end of the presentations. I really hope this was helpful. We're going to take questions in a second. We've been answering some as we go here. As I mentioned earlier, we're launching a new digital transformation service to deliver exactly what we're talking about here. Parsons IT has always worked with our internal business stakeholders to deliver their needs, just as with your IT departments would be doing within your company. However, we decided that this is a good time to be shifting some of that capability to focus on clients as well. So from engagements with myself directly and my team to the rest of the IT leadership, to specific engineering challenges across many areas such as IT strategy, portfolio, business management, cloud collaboration, and many other areas, we are happy to engage to do anything from strategy through implementation and operations. So we're looking forward to hearing from you about that. Our thinking was that we live this along with you. We're in the industry. We really do get it. So we figure there's no better way to do that. If interested, we'd love to hear from you. You can go to the Parsons website, parsons.com/innovation, and a recording of this will be available afterwards. So with that said, I think it's time for some questions. We've had a few so far, let's see here. I'm just looking at the questions. So Mike, a question for you. It was a question that we got, but people are interested in whiteboarding and being able to use a tablet like a Wacom tablet to be able to bring yet another level of in-person feeling to this remote world. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Sure. So we are definitely I would say in the evaluation stage to fill that gap in our portfolio. We are looking at multiple technologies right now to bridge that gap. And one of the, again, I think I mentioned this in my remarks. One of the things we're really looking at is the ability to tie physical office, conference room equipment, and really make that part of this virtual world that we're creating. So how do we tie those two together? We're in as Karen Wright, I think, mentioned, we have a number of demand requests from our business partners around this particular topic. And right now we're in the evaluation phase, but we have not made a decision about what the right solution is for the company and how much of it we intend to procure and who's the first kind of iteration of the audience to receive it. So we still have some more work to do on that front.
Great, Mike. Thank you very much. And let's see, the next question here. Oop, I clicked on the wrong question button. Okay, hold on. Okay, the next question is to Melissa. So Melissa, and this is a little bit of a setup. So even if COVID is over, will Parsons go back to working from an office? And I can preempt that by saying our goal is to not go back to the way it was, but we're still working through all the logistics of that. But do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I can definitely, just to reiterate kind of, Stu, what you had said, right? One of the things I think that the whole scenario has taught us is that we do have the capabilities and we do have a lot more roles at Parsons and work that can be done at Parsons in a remote setting. And so we are working on a more longer term basis, even after this particular event is lightened or lessened in terms of its impact, to look at ways that more of our employees can work in a remote fashion on a permanent basis, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, et cetera. On a flexible arrangement, we're looking to offer more flexible work options as we move forward. And again, doing that from a company perspective is beneficial in several ways, not only to the employee and their experience, reduced commute times, better work-life balance, et cetera. It also widens our talent pools and availability of people to join our organization when you don't have to join in a specific location or office, and also helps us as an organization with our sustainability and carbon footprint goals, right? And reducing time that we spend traveling and commuting. And I think all of that aligns to our core values, what we want to offer our employees as a value proposition, and also working in conjunction with our customers as we're seeing them take similar steps to adapt their work models as well.
Thank you so much, Melissa. We had a question that Mike answered. The question was, are you onboarding a bring your own device strategy? This is a complicated topic. Mike, I mean, conceptually, we'd like to do it. I mean, the idea of having that flexibility and employee creativity and being able to support your, bring your own device to work. But we just keep going back to the challenges and support. And, we do live in a regulated world here. So we've to this date felt that it's more problem than it solves. We do allow bring your own mobile. So we're a third of the way there. But Mike, do you want to add anything?
I definitely think you hit the high points, Stu. The issue that we have, we're in a fairly regulated industry, and especially with our federal government customer. So there are ways to provide a bring your own device solution and likely centralize the corporate data through some virtualized mechanism. Just when we looked at the numbers to do that, it wasn't an insignificant investment, and we've just decided, like you mentioned, Stu, at this point that it's just not part of the short-term strategy. Perhaps as technology changes and there's more kind of cost-effective ways to protect the local area network as well as the data, right, that we need to attest and comply to. Perhaps there will be other opportunities, but for now, we've made the conscious choice that that's not in our short-term roadmap.
Thank you. We have a question from Xavier about how will this impact corporate real estate? Will certain buildings be closed and moved to a smaller footprint? I guess I can answer that, which is I think there will be an impact. I think we'd be kidding ourselves to think there won't be, but we have definitely not gotten there related to what that looks like. There's leases and all sorts of long-term commitments related to facilities, and we want it to be done the right way. We're not making any harsh decisions or quick decisions. And of course, support of our customers always comes first. So I think there's a lot of work to do there. I think our desire would be to reduce that footprint, but we're definitely not there yet. So thank you for that question. Let me ask the panel a question. So could anyone like to answer what's been your largest individual challenge throughout all this on a personal side?
This is Mike, Stu. I'll take that if it's.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I was actually just responding to the question. Like for me, I think it's kind of twofold. This is the first time that I've worked from home in my career. I mean, I've done it sporadically as needed. And I really realized that I thought I was an introvert. I really like social interaction. So, right, forcing myself to make sure that I'm in front of my employees and and look at them face to face, really I have to make it a point to kind of do that. Kind of the second area that my wife actually pointed this out the other day, and it's work-life balance. Like she said, hey, it's 6 o'clock. Are you off of work? I go, what do you mean? It's 6 o'clock. And so I've been one of those guys that have kind of plopped down, at the desk at 7 a.m. and worked, straight through until 7 p.m. and after. And I think keeping that work-life balance, kind of getting up to take a walk to clear my head, and not just sit here and plow through the day, has been something that I've been struggling with. And there's a lot of good chow in the refrigerator too, so I got to keep myself out of that thing so I stay healthy and happy. But I would say, from my point of view, those are the two things that I've been working with and working on.
Thanks, Mike. And we have one other question that I think for you to answer, and I'm afraid to maybe answer this question, but I think in transparency here, we probably should. Who's been your number one partner? It's really not an easy question to answer.
I would say that all the partners we do business with have been great. Everybody has reached out and asked if we needed any assistance. Many folks are sharing ideas. So I don't know that I really think it's an ecosystem, right? Like, we're comfortable with those folks that we decide to do business with. And I don't want to call anybody out individually, because I'm going to miss somebody, and then I'm sure that'll work against me at some point. But I've just been very encouraged externally by the amount of support, our biggest partners have invested back into Parsons. And then internally, I think we've hit this several times. The teams are coming together. There's nothing really like a crisis like this to boil things down to their essence, remove the barriers so that work can get done quickly. And I think that's more cultural than it is, maybe it is anything else. And maybe it just takes something like a scenario like this for that leadership to truly materialize and, help people just get their deliverables done and their mission accomplished. So I don't know that I really answered that question, so I apologize.
No, it's good. I appreciate that. And then we have another good question. Which is, the event caused us to retool and pivot quickly. Mike had said that with a clear mission, responsibility, and removing barriers, a lot can be done. Moving forward, do you see continued internal disruption, in a good sense, modifying our way of doing business? And I can take that. I think the answer is absolutely, positively. I've seen more innovation in the last 90 days than I have seen in years. And it's something I talk about with our executive leadership team and with most employees. How do we maintain this momentum of innovation and change and thinking differently going forward? And that is something we're taking up internally. We actually have launched an internal ideation platform where different parts of the company can post business challenges and have people respond to those challenges with ideas, and in a social way kind of bubble up the best ideas that we decide to fund and move forward with. So we're looking at it's a very good question. We're looking at how do we really continue this trend going forward. And I think we have time for one more question. And I think it's for Melissa. Can you talk about how employee productivity, well, maybe it's Melissa, well, it's for everybody maybe, but can you talk about how employee productivity changes so far during the challenge, maybe with a couple examples? Do you think that the current work productivity change is connected to a fear of losing their job? I'll start that answer. I think it's multi-phases, right? I have not seen a single case where someone is afraid of losing their job. I would think that I'm kidding myself to think that there's not someone out there, but we have a really good, strong business. We're very lucky. We have a strong business. We have great customers, And we're doing very well as a company, and I don't think that has been a single fear at the company. As far as productivity, I think it's probably, I'd be kidding myself to think it's not a mixed bag. I think for the most part, people are productive, but there are people that aren't, that we have to figure out. Do you want to add anything to that, Melissa?
Yeah, Stu, I think you covered it pretty well, right? I mean, I think at Parsons, from a cultural perspective, our employees are driven by our commitment to helping our customers deliver their missions, right? Solving first of a kind and one of a kind problems. I think that productivity that we see, the increase in productivity, especially during this time, is because everybody is in rapid response mode, and we are in partnership with our customers, driving faster, longer, better, stronger to help them meet their missions while we're also driving our business, right? So I think that's where you're seeing the passion and that productivity uptick, especially in the current response situation. As for challenges and changes that we've had, obviously that quick pivot to remote working, we would be kidding ourselves if we said we didn't have some missteps, especially in the very beginning, that we've worked to correct to help our employees continue to be productive. And also looking at the long term when we're offering these new flexible work arrangements, what other tools, technologies, products, processes, et cetera, do we need to be able to ensure that we can sustain the production that we need to be a successful organization?
Great, thank you. And with that, I can't believe the time went so quickly. That brings us to the end of the webinar. Again, we'd love to hear from you, parsons.com/innovation. And please let us, we will do our best to follow up with questions, and please reach out anytime you need something. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you for the panelists. Have a great day, everyone.